That's probably got all you need as far as the comments. But in general, reasonable class as far as just finishing okay, and I think transition of kind of losing some coaches. We were actually one coach down. We still have a coach to hire, and we went all the way through the process without a guy. But we had 4 on defense and 4 on O and myself, so I thought we battled pretty good and overcame the the coaching transition, and I don't think we had some hiccups because of that. Sometimes you can. So that was good. I think we have on paper potentially 14 defensive guys, 12 on O. Although there's a couple offensive guys that could go to D and vice versa because there's some reasonably skilled kids. I think for the most part, and these are all guys on paper, it might look good. We still got to do a great job developing and weight room and coaching and 2, 3, and 4 or 5 years down the road where we can get them. But I think it's a longer group of kids, more range, more length, more size, hopefully potentially guys that can play a little faster and bigger on the field and make us a little more competitive. We got 12 on offense. And I think that's and 6 of those guys were mid-year. That wasn't by design. That's just how it worked out. And the 6 guys were 6 spots is all we had. That's why it was 6. I do think it's good to have 3 of those offensive linemen here, even though we've got a veteran line coming back. We didn't sign any last year. It takes time to develop those guys. So to get a spring ball, winter conditioning, summer is awesome. With Bolzer leaving, I think Jordan Fuchs is a quality tight end prospect to work with. Have Diamont to give us some depth at quarterback, a young guy to get going in your system. And then Dominique Booth. We lose a couple, 3 receivers, a lot of guys back, but a little hit there. So I think having him, I think that really bodes for hopefully some continuity 2 years down, 18 months from now, 24 months from now as we move forward, that you don't have those voids. Hopefully we're ahead of the game. The offense has always recently has had a little bit more depth and competition, and hopefully with last year's signing and now this year with these 14 cats that are potentially defensive players, that we can enhance the competition and the ability to make plays on the defensive side. So 3, 4, 5 D-line type bodies, couple 3 outside backers, couple 3 inside backers, 4 or 5 DBs that can play corner safety. One of the corners is a 200-pound kid. It's just a bigger kid and can run. And so again, like those guys. And like I said, I thought our staff did a well of a job. I thought our kids on campus did a great job. It's just getting easier for us to recruit. We come in town, it's just a better vibe. The hotel environment's better when we walk in. They know us and they like us and treat us right. And the restaurants you go to, they know you are. And you go to those basketball games, there's a good vibe from our student section and the fans we got. So it's just it's a lot more positive. And I think it's year 3 going into 4. We just got stronger relationships with the kids and the coaches, and we're doing a good job. We got a few, we lose a few, but it was a good day, good class, and excited to move forward with these guys. Is that it?
Can you talk a little bit about the Donovan Clark, the kid from Fort Wayne?
Yeah, he's playing basketball now. I think lighting it up pretty good up there, it looks like, from what I can read from the stats and numbers. Has been a heck of a baseball player, too. He's a quarterback, does a lot for them. I think here will probably, and he could be a receiver-type slot guy. I think he's going to be a corner guy. He's gotten, looking at him, he's developing. He's getting some size to him. I think he comes in. Now, he's a little bit smaller than some of our other DBs, but, you watch him. He plays with physical presence. For a small guy, he runs hard when he's got the ball. He's not a juke guy. He'll play with good pad level, and when he comes up to hit you, he's very aggressive and assertive. He's not tentative. So, I think he's a well-round, all-around athlete. I think he's, not maybe as long as some of these guys, but he's very, very fast. And for a guy that's in that 5'10", 175-pound range, a very physical kid. So excited to have him.
Kevin, it's my understanding that due to the status of the January enrollees, you guys could have taken as many as 28 if you had chosen to do so. Are there still a couple of scholarships potentially open if some academic issues work out or other things for some kids possibly down the road?
Yeah, like each year, our first year we get Stephen Houston late. Turns out pretty good. The next year was Timmy Bennett. It's turned out pretty good. Last year we signed a guy whose grades didn't quite get him here, and we took Nate Hoff, who's we think is going to be a nice young D lineman. So there's always guys that come around late. Potential that could be used for those early graduates. If there's a guy that wants to graduate and he's appealing, and when these guys, finish school in 3 or 4 years, if you have a void, I think we'll just take our time on that, see how that plays out. The other thing, too, if you don't use all the spaces, then you can use them next year and count mid-year and count backwards, and that's how sometimes you can sign a few more than you have. So we'll just see how it goes. There's no rush, and there's nothing, I don't know, imminent. We'll just see. I don't think we're going to rush to judgment, but there's potential for a few more.
With the addition of Coach Knorr, did you guys change maybe your approach in terms of what kind of defensive player to recruit over the past month or so, or anything like that?
I don't think so, as much as we were it wasn't designed, but we were able to get him in here on a Saturday night late with 14 defensive prospects on campus that Saturday, Sunday. So we got to eyeball, meet a lot of guys, put body types, see them. From there, we were able to go see like Tony Fields on Tuesday. We saw Donovan Clark Sunday night. So we were able to see a lot of guys. Matter of fact, I think that we only had one DB that we went after Hardy didn't see. And the same with Coach Inge, Coach McDaniel getting in. So it wasn't perfectly planned, but a lot of the offensive guys had committed, defense that hadn't. There was work to be done. I think he was able to get us on a few guys. He had recruited Georgia very hard at Wake Forest, has some ties, so we stumbled into a couple guys there. But again, been very, very impressed. I think he's done a nice job of just connecting those guys together, and they've done a great job of team recruiting as a defensive staff. It's like last night I was on the phone. We had a four-way phone. I never heard of a four-way phone call, but these iPhones, I guess, let you do that. We had, it was kind of amazing trying to get everybody to be quiet so somebody could talk. But we had four of us on their side. Just thought they did a good job of team recruiting from a defensive side, and I thought he did a great job of leading the charge for us there.
Who were the guys you got on after he joined the staff? And who were guys that were, that maybe?
I had another contact that got us into Will Dawkins, but he knew the coach. We had recruited a kid from his high school last year, and he had done the same thing and knew the coach, so that helped. The Walton kid from Carver is a guy that he went down to see. Robert McCray was a guy that he went down to see with Coach Inge as well, as was Darian Meminger. And so might be missing another guy, but I think for the most part that's it. And a couple guys we went after that didn't work out.
You obviously went after receivers a lot, losing Cody and Kofi. Just how you feel you did about just kind of replenishing that?
I think we've got some good young ones still to work with. We'll be fine, but I wanted to try to get a little size. That's why I think to get Semi Cobbs late and to get Dominique in kind of late and mid-year is good, because they're physically a little bit more mature, bigger guys. Not that means they're better, but a couple of those guys you lose some size and length out there, which is one of their fortes. So. Again, little Jay Shun, I think is very dynamic. Loved him at camp, and I think he shows up. Potential to be similar to the guy that plays for us now. We'll see if he is. But coming out of high school, he's similar. Maybe has some things you even think maybe farther along, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. And then Corey Kill is a guy I think under the radar, but again a bigger 6'2"ish. He'll show up at 190s, and I think he's, again, gives us a little size. So with the young guys we've got at receiver, I thought we were a little bit more in that 5'11", 6 foot, 180, 90-pound range. I think we're trying to find a few more. When you recruit receivers when you recruit, like everybody says, how many old linemen you're taking? Well, we're only taking one guy like this guy that's playing center. And one guy like this, all those bodies are taking 4 DBs. Hey, that field corner is different. They're all different bodies. And I think at receiver, I think we got some good players, but I think we got some of the bodies that hopefully will fit some of the voids that we might have.
So you wanted to go a little more outside, obviously, because you had some.
I don't know about outside, just some size. For example, I think Shane Wynn potentially can be a nice outside player for us this year, because I think we have some inside depth. He's a good player. So, and sometimes, the inside guy, the little guy's a good route runner matchup. He's not a good blocking matchup because of those linebackers. So, it's give and takes. I just thought we needed a little bit more size on defense and perimeter, backers and safeties and corners, more size, more length, more speed. And I thought the same thing at receiver, just a little bit more. In the basketball world, we weren't taking point guards this year. We're trying to get those power forward guys.
Coach, coming into this class, you guys focused on certain positions, O-line and quarterback on offense, secondary, linebackers on defense. I know it's attrition and stuff like that can change, but looking forward, is there any position for next year's class that you guys are looking at? We need to get some guys here. I'm not sure. I think we got 16, 17, 18 seniors. Like last year, we started this year thinking we'd have 18 scholarships. It ends up going potentially to 28, whether it be early graduates and medicals and whatnot. So, I don't know what sometimes the numbers determine that. I think we're getting, when I looked at our numbers, when I look at our class, we're starting to look at like
17 or 18 seniors to be, 17 or 18 juniors to be. So we're getting to have a little balanced, and hopefully we can start maybe need-based instead of all of a sudden have a void. Like I said, I think, we took a gamble last year not taking any offensive linemen. But we only had one senior and really only one, didn't lose any of our starters this year. So moving forward, I think we're going to start to have some continuity. And, if you got 18 scholarships, hopefully it's 8 or 9 on O, 8 or 9 on D, a little bit of both. A little too early. I think it'd be reasonably well-rounded. I don't know if I can answer that.
Jim, with so many kids flipping commitments these days, how much of a challenge does that put on you and your staff right until the end?
It's real hard. It's the hardest thing. We talk about rules, like, one of the comments that's made, like, should we have earlier visit dates? And I don't know if we need to have earlier visit dates because kids are getting around, and with technology you can see and make your decisions. But I sure wish we had that early signing day like basketball did, because, you got guys committing in June, and now the 12th hour this weekend say you don't want to come. Well, you've been holding off people. Like, hey, I got a spot for you. And as a program, if you do that, hey, I've got you, but then I call you as the high school coach. Hey, I can't take you now. This one over here is a little bit better for me. It's a tough deal. But the kids got to protect themselves. I understand that. You got coaching changes, so all of a sudden you lose a guy. There's a ripple effect, and the water keeps just moving around. And like I say, it's the last few days have been a free for all. It's been hectic. It's been hanging on for dear life, and some of the stories the kids hear. And you come back to, if you do a good job recruiting, you hope there's enough trust and a strong enough relationship you can weather the storm. And once in a while you might get a guy late. Once in a while you might lose a guy late. I think at the end, though, instead of worrying about it, I think it always works out. You get probably who you're supposed to coach. And hopefully you just do a nice job of evaluating those guys. And like I say, I don't have a hard time if a guy don't want to come. It's his choice. Sometimes you just worry about the effect. Sometimes those guys, they took an opportunity from someone else. I actually had a kid in my office wanting to commit, and I said, well, I know I got a spot. But then a week later, that spot wasn't there anymore because he changed his mind, and now the guy wanted to commit. He was a little offended, and he went on down the road. And, if you knew how it was going to play out, you could have covered your bases. But it's tough. But it is what it is. Thank God it's only 2 weeks after Christmas and not 3, 4, 5, 6. So, but it is. Like I said, I'd love to get into an early signing day, just so, because that way, to me, if a kid didn't want to sign, he's not committed, and now you're not saving a spot for him. These guys are committing. There'll be teams today having 4, 5, 6 commitments for next year already. So it seems like if we could have August 1 or September 1 day, it might help you. But same time, it is what it is. It's a lot of fun. And I'm not going to complain about it because we're recruiting on paper as good as we've done. And we got to take this paper product and start producing on the field.
Coach, you talk about running 2 running backs. Not a huge position of need for you, but 2 pretty good prospects. What do you like from Tommy, Mr. and Divine Reddy?
We had Divine in camp, and Coach McCullough had a strong feel from him from a year ago. Had him as a young kid. Transitioned from one high school to another, and wasn't able to play a few games starting his season up at Glenville, but really liked him in person. I think it's going to be one of those a little bit more not a slow guy, he's a little bit more compact, physical guy, got some substance running through things. I think Tommy, not that you're trying to get guys like players, but has some similar traits to Tevin, a little bigger, a little bit more speed, a little rangy, both a little different. At the same time, you're looking at D'Angelo's going to be a senior, and really you've only got 2 proven players there right now, and you see what's coming on behind. You haven't seen that yet to know what you've got from LeRae and Miles. So again, we can't wait from a year from now and have it. I think having those 2 guys, and the reason we took 2 is you didn't want to walk away from one of them. One guy committed's good, but when Divine committed early, when Tommy wanted to get, he was one of the, he and Tevin both struck me in summer tape when I saw those guys. I was like, I want that guy. That just looks like somebody I like this guy. And we didn't get him down early, and just didn't work out. And he made a commitment somewhere else. But we were able to kind of weather the storm and hang in there. And I think a coaching change there hurt their situation, helped us. And because that's, again, some of the unfortunate deal with the dynamics. And you guys are trying to scoop every story, Twitter everything out, and you're killing us guys trying to recruit dudes. It's hard now. Everybody trying to get the first scoop of who went where. Between the kids' Twitters and y'all's Twitters, man, it is hard. And at least I had mine going today for a change.
Coach, how many kids?
Like, for example, you know the coaches that Twitter out where they go? Do you think that's good? Because it's also telling everybody where he didn't go. Does that make them other guys mad at you? It's like, you know, is that good or bad? I mean, you're juggling. It's a tough dynamic. And not sliding, you guys do a great job. And personally, the more y'all cover our recruiting, the better it goes for us. So I love it. But it is, like Terry said, it sure makes it hard down the end with all this flipping back and forth because everybody knows everybody's business.
How many of these kids that you signed were in one of your camps?
Good question. I got to look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Did
Now, it's a couple years because a couple of them I saw 2 years ago, but we had seen in person.
did your camp? Did any kids that came to your camp, were they going someplace else and then you got them at the end?
I think some of the guys were on kind of early. You know, the Midwest recruiting goes extremely fast, which I'm very leery of, and telling every kid now we're making offers to juniors now to build relationships, not to get the early commitment. Let's get to know each other, make sure you like us, and it's a good fit, and da-da-da. But this Midwest deal, you've got to get them to junior days and basketball games and spring practices. You got to get them to camp because it's like by June they all want to be done. Then everybody gets those last-minute feelings, and they start changing their mind come December, January. The southern states, because they play later, those kids just – maybe because the South is always a little more laid back and moving slow. I don't know, but they just go slower, and those kids are sitting around in December and January. So, you know, we really target early up here. And that being said, the camp is a part of getting them. And a lot of these guys, I think, commit early because they're a little bit more Midwest oriented. Although it did help us with Conyers, you know, having him at camp from Georgia is one of them.
How hard is it to recruit maturity? And I don't mean physical maturity, I mean emotional maturity, so that maybe you have a kid that's really skilled, but he's not mature enough. I mean, are you able to evaluate that, or do you have to wait till he gets here to really get a sense of that?
It's very tough with, like, for example, I have one visit. And so, you know, I get one visit. I don't get a spring visit. We have spring recruiting period. Head coaches aren't allowed to go. So I have one visit. And most of my visits by the time December and January come are almost formalities and cordial because he's already committed. And, you know, when I go see a junior, as I was doing the last few weeks, can't talk to him. So that's why I had juniors calling me today. But it's all, if you can't get them on campus, it's hard because to me, you got to sit down and build those relationships and get them talking. The phone works both ways. Hopefully these guys' calling plans are now enough they can afford to do it. You know, you sit there and you try to send a bunch of Facebook messages to, you know, create conversation and get them to talk to you, but it's hard to get to know people. And I think that's the hardest thing, evaluating someone's character and evaluating their work ethic and the type of kid they are. That's the hardest thing. And if you're doing a good job, like, you know, I made a comment to our staff, if you show me someone that's on schedule, I'll show you a bad recruiter. Because you got to hang around. I like this dude, and let's go talk to this English teacher, and hey, how's he doing? Oh, he hadn't turned in 3 assignments. Hey, what's up? You know, what's up here? You know, hey, he's the best kid I have in class. Everybody here loves him. Da 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 da. Let's hang around and work out. So, you know, you got to do a lot of work. But man, we're so limited with. And we had 4 weeks and 2-3 days recruiting in December, January. That was it. We've got 42 days I think it is to go out in the fall and see a game, and you can't even talk to them. So their ability to get on campus, your ability to get around them. It's hard, and that's where the mistakes are made. And when we do our visits here, when guys come in, we structure our visits where the biggest thing they do is spend time with our team. And then we really start recruiting our team or visiting with our team. Does he fit into our locker room? Is he going to be a good addition? And we had a couple times that we've had guys saying, Coach, I'd be a little leery here. Not sure you're going to like him. And we put a lot of stock in that, because I think we've gotten to a point where our kids kind of understand what we're looking for and what we want. So that's a hard thing, though. Tough thing.
Kevin, you had supposedly the highest rated recruiting class ever last year. And I'm not asking you what this one's rated at, but how do you compare the feeling you have about this class compared to last year's class at the same time? There's
some similarities. I think last year had a couple of those, quote, on-paper names that give you a little bit more splash. I think this one's probably got a little bit more depth, a little bit more quality through it, you know, and Like I said, I think there's good kids. I think there's a lot of potential. And I think we hit on some areas we needed. So I think, of course, no one's going to sit here today and say it's a bad class, but I really think as we are trying to build, I think we've made some really good strides the last 2 years. And the profile of the player we're going after, I think our kids and our staff are now identifying the type of people that we want that fit into our program. And I think we're upgrading the skill set. So I think it's pretty good.
Coach, a third of this class is from Florida or Georgia. I mean, has that just been a real shift in your focus, or did it just kind of happen that way this year?
I think we had 9 last year. We had 4 if you count the one junior college kids from Florida. I think we had 9 last year from those states. It's just, to me, we're going to start in 5 hours. You got our state, and we're going to try real hard. We've already identified a bunch for next year and trying to build those relationships and have every year. We don't get them all. We don't like them all, but we're trying. And I appreciate the way the coaches and our guys are interacting with our state. It's going really, really strong. 5 hours from here, you got St. Louis, Chicagoland, Detroit, basically all of Ohio. You get to the edge of Cleveland, but you got Louisville, Lexington. You got a good radius in 5 hours from Indy. If you just draw a circle and just go around, you got a lot of population, a lot of good football. I think each year we've gotten 1, 2, 3 out of Chicago. This year I think it's 7 out of Ohio. Last year I think it's 4 or 5. We've always ventured in there. It's a good football state. We've taken 4, 5, 6, 7 every year out of Indy. So we're going to get, it looks like 10, 12, 13, 14 each year in the Midwest, and then where your remaining guys come from. Now when you go to Atlanta, you got the 4th largest alumni base of the school, because of the Kelley School of Business and all the business opportunities of Metro Atlanta. So I believe it's in Indianapolis, Indiana 1, Chicagoland 2, New York City 3, and then Atlanta 4. So you got an easy drive coming up 70. You got an easy drive till you get to Columbus. You go on that one little road, 2-lane road. Other than that, it's you can hump it. But it's drivable. You got, again, a strong feel. When you go into Florida recruiting, there's always Midwest values in Florida because of all the coaches and or families that have moved coming down I-75 or 95 down in Florida, whether it be to live, retire, vacation, whatever. So to me, the Big Ten is always well received, and I think all of our schools do well in Florida. And we still spot around. We try to sneak in and we check on a Texas kid or 2, an Oklahoma kid. We got a Cali kid. 2, 3 years in a row now we've gotten a New York kid. So, we'll keep, it'd be interesting to see with the ad of Maryland Rutgers, do we start getting a little bit more into that? We looked harder this year into Philly, was on a couple kids, didn't go anywhere. We're South Jersey. We'll see if maybe that D.C. area, of course, it's heavily recruited and good players, but you pick your spots. But Atlanta and Florida is very well received, I think, by our school. I think by several Big Ten schools as well. And we've got good ties. Coach Nord recruited there recently very hard in the Georgia land. Coach Shelby had been doing that for us. Coach Fry's from Clearwater, Florida. Coach Inns did a great job in Central Florida for us. So we've got, we all have a regional area, we all have a state area, a regional area, and then we all kind of have an outer tier area as far as our responsibilities.
In particular, how quickly did things develop with him, and what do you guys seeing?
We tried it. We went down 2 weeks ago, and we found out about him when we were doing some home visits with Conyers and those guys there. And actually, Coach McDaniel, I had plans that got me back to Indy, but he stayed around 2 weeks ago to meet him, to see him, to size him, verify grades. Do you like him? Then we tried really hard to get him in last weekend on a visit, and he took a visit where then it didn't work out. Where I think the school filled up, and he didn't get an offer. We thought I've got Big Ten meetings this weekend and an alumni event where I'm not going to be in town, and we can't do a visit to this weekend. I didn't want to wait past this weekend because of all your Twitter secrets. Everybody else would have inked him up. So we said, hey, if you like him, and we talked to him enough on the phone, we offered him and signed him because, again, I felt we needed one more D-line body. Very athletic, a lot of upside. Playing very, very good competition now, too. Now, the teams he's playing, he's playing against the Lovejoy teams where some of these guys are recruiting at, so it's a good brand of ball. Talked to several coaches that worked with him at Georgia's camp that I had some ties with some coaches there to verify, what they thought in person, liked him in tape. And Coach McDaniel and Coach Nora visited him, really liked him as a person. Sounded grounded fun. I would have preferred to have gotten him up here. We wanted him last week. And it didn't work out, but I didn't want to go past it because I thought it would be good to take one more D lineman in our class, especially because of the extra numbers that we have. Anything else?
I wanted to go back real quick on Coach Nord and how sort of this group fits sort of what he wants to do. I mean, when you looked at the guys you already had, they fit in a way that they can play multiple, that they can play, be, you know, either odd or man fronts, even or odd fronts, basically.
I mean,
what he wants to do.
well, again, you know, hopefully if he's able to do what we want to do, he'll be able to adjust and adapt to what he's got. Because I think, you know, a guy that really understands concepts and personnel and how to attack people is not necessarily multiple. You're multiple if you can do it, but when you got the ability to adjust versus you got a playbook and you're shoving something you want it down, you got to do what your kids can do. So we're in the process right now. Again, that's why we were out there yesterday morning. We're out this morning having workouts with our coaches there, really for he and Coach McDaniel to really start gauging the players they have, and we're trying to do that and fit our recruiting class into it. I think a couple of those D linemen, again, to me, whether you're playing inside the guard or shade the center, head up, you're an A gap type player, B gap players at D lineman. Safeties are going to play cover 3, cover 4 man. Corners the same deal. So I don't, you know, I didn't see anyone as this as a. I mean, I thought maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the Patriots were a 3-4 team, and due to injuries went to 4-3 halfway through the season, and then they got beat in the championship game a couple weeks ago. So I think, you know, a good coach can adjust. Hopefully he can. And like, we didn't have a style we were going after, except we wanted bigger, longer, faster dudes. And I think at every position we did, I think we're bigger at linebacker than we've been. Not that it fits his scheme, I just think it fits the Big Ten. First word in Big Ten is big. And you got to be kind of big. We got to get bigger on that side. Our corner, I mean, assigning a 200-pound corner can run, that's big for us because we've been playing out there 175, 180 pounds. And when those backs come around the corner, they don't, you know, that's 230, 40 pounds coming at you. And so I just think the key that we were looking for was just guys that could run but had a little bit more length and growth potential to take up space. And I think we accomplished that. And I don't think we were looking at this as the perfect 4-3 DN or 3-4 outside backer or 4-3 Mike or 3-4. That was never the conversation at all.
Is that, you haven't decided that yet? I mean,
I don't think we will might not till
after
the season. And I think if we're good, hopefully we'll have a chance to do a little bit of both. Because in a perfect world, when you watch Ohio State, Wisconsin, that's what they're doing. I mean, they're in 3-man fronts with 4-man principals, 4-man fronts with 3-man principals. Everybody getting their nickel package and all that stuff. But I think, you know, for an offensive lineman, if you sit up there and play one thing all the time, they get a beat on you. If you can understand what you're doing, be sound in structure, and be multiple, you're going to be better. We'll see. In time, we'll see if we can be that way. You can talk all that now, but you're only going to do what those kids can do, and we'll see how we evolve.
It's pretty key to add Gooch and McCray here in the last part of the commitments to get the big linebackers you were just talking about.
Yeah, and you know, those are big backers, and there's also guys. I mean, both guys are about the size of David Kinney. I mean, when you stand there and look at their bodies, they're not a whole lot of difference. I mean, maybe one guy's fingers go a quarter inch farther out on reach, but when you look at frame, size, so you've got guys that stand up and play inside back or shoot. One of them played tailback. Some on his videotape. If you Google him up and look at him, he wasn't a 2,000-yard runner, but he's playing high school tailback. So you've got some 245, 50-pound guys. You're big 6'2", and they've yet to quote lift, start lifting. So maybe, I mean, some of those guys end up being 275, 80-pound tackles. You never know. I mean, pick number 1 and pick number 4 of the draft last year was a 6'6", 202-pound high school quarterback, and he's now playing right tackle for the Eagles. So I mean, you just got guys that can move and they're long, and I mean, I don't know what they're going to be. I know they're really good defensive players, and hopefully they'll be backers. Maybe they're not. Maybe a couple of those safeties are 6'2" and 3 and 205 pounds. They might be 230, 35 playing backer. You're not projecting that, but the way kids eat, grow, our nutrition, lifting, I just think again we've got more speed, more length, and there's some potential, and we'll see how we develop those guys. It's going to be. I think 2 and 3 years down the road, it might be nice to see. Whereas last year's class and this year's class, where we can get to and see if we can really grow and start playing some really competitive defense. Are we good? Hey, with the weather, appreciate you coming, guys. Anything else? Thanks for your coverage. Put it out. Appreciate y'all. Be good.